And then there was the great farewell party the Steelers threw me, actually a two-night party. They announced that the big Monday night game against Baltimore would be Myron Cope night, and the night before they threw this big dinner for me, packed house, over 700 people. What a celebration, or retirement farewell, whatever. But hey, thanks, Steelers.
Again, folks, as you settle down, I call your attention to the monitors for a very, very special video. In many different ways, Myron Cope's life has been all about the stories. The ones he wrote, the ones he told, the way he used those stories to make everything fun, to make us feel like we were with a friend. Myron's stories have taught us things, some made us think, but all of them have entertained us. Well, on this date of his special occasion, it's time to turn the tables on Myron. Instead of having him tell us the stories, here are some stories to tell about him. There's a story about Myron Cope, the writer, the author of 5 books already. Myron also was one of the preeminent freelance magazine writers of his time, good enough to be assigned pieces on major sports figures such as Howard Cosell and Muhammad Ali. And probably most important of all, Myron was good enough to be paid like George Plimpton in his prime. There's another story, the more familiar one, about Myron Cope, the story of the broadcaster with a voice that charitably can be described as unique or distinctive, or like the male version of Sophie Masloff's. This story is about how Cope on Sports was the #1 talk show in the Pittsburgh market the entire time it was on the air. And how about for 35 years, Myron Cope was one of the most unique color analysts in the NFL. As Dan Rooney said, quote, "The big thing is that Myron made it fun for everyone, especially the fans, but also for the players, the coaches, the front office, and for me and my father before me," end of quote. Then there's the most well-known story of all. It's the one about a sales guy at WTAE Radio telling Myron he had to come up with some gimmick for a playoff game in 1975, something that would involve the fans and, of course, reflect favorably on the radio station. That's when the Terrible Towel was born. During the towel's 30-year life, it has made a lot of money for Allegheny Valley School, an institution for the profoundly mentally and physically disabled. This is the story of a man who made up his own language on his radio broadcast with yoys and double yoys and whom-has. Myron's dialect was a language that only a Pittsburgher could understand and appreciate. And Myron's vocalizations portrayed images that the fan could not see but could understand only through his descriptive speech. Fans were left wondering when Myron couldn't find the right words or fumbled over vowels and consonants if he was ever going to get to the point. But in the end, he always did, in the only way he could, Myron's way. But the Myron Cope story is about a lot more than a short guy with a strange voice who came up with some gimmick that involved laundry. He was talented, but he also worked hard at his craft every day, and he was good at it. In 1987, the Hearst Corporation put Myron on a list of 54 of its all-time greats, along with Mark Twain and Jack London. And any complete story about Myron Cope must contain the fact that he's a lifetime Pittsburgher, that he always was generous with his time for charities such as the local chapter of the Autism Society of America and as co-founder of the Vintage Grand Prix auto races. The old broadcast booth at Three River Stadium gave Cope a headache, literally. The TV monitor sat above Myron's head, and when he'd get excited, Cope would jump up and hit his head on the monitor. The maintenance people had to put foam rubber on the device just so Cope could avoid a concussion. There are a lot of other stories about Myron Cope, and one of the great things about the guy is that so many of us have our own personal stories about him, about how he made us feel special on some occasion, about how he made us laugh with that Kennywood Park commercial he did with Jack Lambert, about how we have shared so many wonderful memories of Steelers football together.
Myron, I just want to congratulate you on 35 great years as the voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers. No one, and I do mean no one, is more respected and loved in the city of Pittsburgh than you are, my friend. And you've had a great career. I'll never forget, though, your love for dogs. Who's the guy that got you started? Me, huh? Right here, remember? Little Sugar, my little dachshund. And you called and asked me about the dog, and Next thing I know, Myron Cope's got a dachshund. So I feel like I've had an influence on your career. Mention Myron Cope and everybody in Pittsburgh, and I know this to be a fact, everybody's got a Myron Cope story, and everybody tries to copy Myron Cope's voice, and as they should. You're the best, my friend. I love you. God bless you. And congratulations, 35 years, absolutely amazing.
Myron Cope. In 1987, I was drafted to play for the greatest team with the greatest fans in the greatest city. But what made that complete is I had the greatest broadcaster call my every play. With your yoys and double yoys, nobody will ever be able to match your uniqueness. You were colorful and amazing and passionate about every play. I was the first player ever to go from the field up into the booth and work next to you. I am grateful for that experience and that opportunity. Tonight, Myron, it's your night. Thank you for making every Steeler game special for the fans and us players.
He made the game, especially starting in the 70s, so much fun. He's the one that started all the things like the terrible towel was his creation, and talking about Franco's army, and all the things that he did were just so appropriate and so great. And he did it with he did it with so much humor, and brought everybody involved, the players and the coaches and all of us. And it's a passing of an era, no question about it. That Myron, he's not in the booth anymore, and we miss him there, but it's great to see him, and it's great that he's here with us tonight.
Myron is retired now, so we don't have the same access to the stories he always told us, but we still have our memories. And as we continue to share our favorite Myron stories among ourselves, this is the time to thank the man who authored them all, Myron Cope.
Right, nobody's near him. He's scanning the end zone, can't find anybody, and then with nobody breathing on him, slips and almost falls down. But catches himself on one hand, picks himself up, runs clear across the field, and finally finds a man open. It's touchdown. So what the heck? Muzzle tough to you, bowler.